Saturate Los Angeles 2026. Welcome to Out on the Lanai, the only Golden Girls podcast you're ever going to need to listen to. I am HAlanScott / Sadie Pines, and this week we have a very special episode. Oh my God. Well, Carrie and I had decided on recording a particular episode, but then I got a text message from Rachel Ekstrom Courage. You know her as the author of the great mystery series that involve Golden Girls. And she said, hey, my book comes out June 2nd. Can you help? And I was like, yes. And so I immediately read it. I mean, she sent me a copy and I, for some reason, thought it came out like later, but I was wrong. Comes out June 2nd, which is very exciting. So she sent me the audiobook and I listened. I binged it, loved every second of it. And then her and I had a little chat, which is what you're going to be listening to today. But Carrie is on the Rusty Anchor happy hour today. Her and I had a quick sort of truly an unhinged conversation. Carrie she was on her nightly walk, and that's where we recorded it from. Crazy. So you can go to the Patreon to listen and watch that one. It's a fun. I love our unhinged episodes of Rusty Anchor Happy Hour. They're fun. But so on today's episode of the podcast, the one for everyone, I am talking with Rachel Ekstrom Courage to talk about Death on the Lanai. Now, this is the follow-up to her very successful first. I mean, it was a New York Times best-selling book, which that means there's a lot of Golden Girls fans out there that want these Golden Girls mysteries. And so, of course, she had to write another one. Now, the last book focused a lot on Rose and also on Dorothy. This one focuses mostly on Blanche, and Dorothy's a part of it too. Also, by popular demand, Stan makes an appearance in this one as well. This is so fun. And I'm not saying this because I love Rachel and I love what she's doing. I thoroughly, genuinely mean it. If you are a Golden Girls fan, you need to go out and buy Death on the Lanai. The link is in the show notes of this episode. It is just for a Golden Girls fan, it's like the girls. I'm getting a different side of the girls. I told Rachel that like reading her books sort of allows me to see the girls in a totally different way because, of course we know the actresses and we know the characters really well from the television show, but there's something about the art of reading about the girls that like makes them more human in a lot of ways. And Rachel does it so well. So we chatted about where she got the idea for this book and the story for this book. What's great about this one is it's kind of one of those books that like it's very Knives Out. It's very Clue in that there's a mansion, there's a murder mystery situation happening, and like Blanche needs to explain some things, and Blanche's man is a part of it, and like it is just. I love Blanche. I love them all, but like Blanche is I just relate to Blanche so much. So the fact that the book sort of centers on Blanche is really exciting. The other thing that Rachel and I talked about, which was really interesting during our first conversation for the first book, a lot of it was unknown. She didn't know if people would be into a Golden Girls mystery. She didn't know if people would even buy the book. She didn't know what kind of reception the book would have. And obviously a lot of you, including myself, loved it. So with this book, she went in knowing that there's people out there that want to hear these stories. You and I, like there's popularity there for these books. And so it didn't necessarily make writing the book any easier for her, but it did give her kind of an idea of like what people want. And that she delivered with Death on the Lanai. So like I said, go to the show notes, click the link, order this book. Give it to your friends, have book clubs, like do the things. If you're able to see Rachel live because she's fantastic and I love her so much. Her and I are plotting things for this book and for other things. So like, I just love Rachel. And so if you get a chance, if she's coming to one of your near cities, go see her. All the links for her are also in the show notes of this episode. But definitely go support her live. Support small bookstores. Go to your local bookstore. If they don't have it in stock, ask them to order it. Like, I'm such a massive fan of writers. And I mean, I'm a writer, but I'm a massive fan of novelists and people who write fiction. And I love bookstores and I just love books. And so go to your local bookstore, buy this wherever you buy books, but like go to a local bookstore and support a local bookstore with this book. Dorothy would be really proud of you. And if you didn't read the first book, of course you can buy that everywhere books are sold, but you can also go to your local library. Dorothy would want you to do that and request it as well. So I will be right back chatting with Rachel Ekstrom Courage about Death on the Lanai. Buy it today. Oh my God. How much did I need another Golden Girls book for the summer? Thank you so much for writing this book, first and foremost. How are you?
Oh my gosh, thank you so much. I am good. I'm so happy to be talking to you again. This is
Yes.
awesome. Yeah,
Yes.
I'm good. It's summertime almost.
Mhm.
Last time I spoke with you, I was very pregnant and now I have a little girl, and the second Golden Girls book is coming out, so life is good.
Well, let's go back to the first one just for a second. So, like, when you first wrote Murder by Cheesecake, what I thought was so interesting about it, obviously, I'm a fan of yours, and of course, I'd be a fan of a Golden Girls book. So, like, duh, makes sense. But, like, when you were writing that one, it was kind of unknown, like you didn't have feedback from the fans. You were and I remember us having a bit of that conversation. I don't know if it was a part of our chat or maybe just us chatting, but like, you don't know how the fans are going to respond. And it was sort of a scary thing for you as a fan of the Golden Girls. And so, like, now that you've heard from the fans and it was a New York Times best-selling book and people really responded to it in a really positive way, how did that response dictate and make the writing of Death on the Lanai an enjoyable experience?
Yeah. So I was really nervous for the first book, really nervous because I love the Golden Girls so much. I know how much they mean to everybody who loves them. So I really wanted to do them justice. And last time I spoke, it hadn't come out yet. I had some early reviews, which were positive. But I have to say, it has been so lovely to hear from the fans of the show who say, this feels like a lost episode of the show. You got the girls' voices right. Or I laughed, I felt comforted, I felt nostalgia. And so that just made me feel so good because that's what I was trying so hard to do. I
Wow.
want to give us more time with our girls.
Yeah.
And I really wanted to get their voices right, first of all. And, it's big shoes to fill because the show is amazing. The writing's amazing. The jokes are hilarious and the performances are amazing. Um, but I felt so lucky and good that people responded well to it. And then when I was writing the second book, you would think that would give me the confidence, but no, I felt like
A writer not having confidence? I've never heard that before.
I felt like in the first one, I poured all my love into the show for the show into the book. For this book, I'm thinking all the people that I met doing book signings and seeing how much it means to them. I'm like, I really am pouring all of their love into it. And I don't want to let anyone down. I want to do justice to the fans of the show because it is really nice to have a few more adventures with these girls.
Yeah.
And so I take that really seriously. So I had that in mind while I was writing. I wanted it to be warm and funny and cozy. And of course, there's murder
Yeah.
and mayhem.
Of course. Well,
But
I would say one of the things that I love about both books, and I just read the one over the weekend, and like the show gives us obviously the best representation of the girls possible. Like it just it's in my head, it's in my heart, it's everywhere. But what the books do is it sort of makes the characters multidimensional. Like it gives us it allows us to sort of almost receive the girls in a totally different way while at the same time a familiar way, if that makes sense. Like it's like running into the girls at the grocery store in a strange way. It's I don't know how to describe it, but like I have a different relationship with these characters because they're in written form. And as someone who loves books and I love authors and I love to read and I love just books, that like it excites me about the possibility of what a book can do for a character that we know and love so well, that you then are able to expand on that character, but not change that character, but expand on it in a really delightful way.
wow, okay, that is really high praise. And thank you. I feel like I'm really trying to stay as true to the show as possible,
Mhm.
but it is a different media.
Yeah.
Reading a book is a different experience than watching
Personal.
the show.
Yeah.
It's personal, the way things land for people, whether you're reading it on the page or listening to the audiobook, I'm trying to be true to the show. And then everyone has their own memories and own experiences of the show. So you might remember it um, in a softer, cozier way, and someone else might remember some of the more tougher wisecracks, and
Yeah.
we all have our own kind of Golden Girls feeling that we
Mhm.
um, but I take that as a huge compliment because I feel like the girls are really, really layered. And we see in the show, different problems, different issues they're solving. But in the book, sometimes you are inside their heads a little more. It's written in third person, but you're really kind of following in this one, Dorothy and Blanche. And in the
Mhm.
first one, it was more Dorothy and Rose. So you might get some of the things they don't say out loud.
Yeah.
Whereas on the show, they're saying it out loud and you're hearing everything. Um, so thank you.
Yeah.
I really feel like I'm just trying to infuse myself with the show, watch the show all the time,
Mhm.
and then imagine putting them in these situations and
Yeah.
what would they do and what might they think as they're, walking down the hall looking for a clue.
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
Well, so let's talk a little bit about the story of Death on the Lanai. And what I think is it's definitely inspired, or it feels inspired at least, by one of my favorite films of all time, Clue, or like Knives Out, which I'm obsessed with. I could talk for days about the last one. And like there is the sense, there is that vibe to it that that I feel that in the pages. And so like what was it about setting up the story for this one, and how much of the case of Libertine Bell impacted your writing of Death on the Lanai? Because I feel it. I feel it.
So, I mean, you cannot write a Golden Girls mystery without thinking about the case of the living female. Like,
Yeah.
that is such a great episode. It's so funny. It has so many hallmarks of the cozy mystery and the
Mhm.
murder mystery dinner
Mhm.
aspect to it. So, I'm trying to keep it in mind because I know everyone is probably familiar with it and make it different enough.
Mhm.
So, the first book centered more around a wedding that Rose was planning. Death on the Lanai, I wanted it to have that Clue feel. I wanted them trapped in a gorgeous, mysterious mansion that might have secret passageways or bookcases that open. So it was definitely playing with that. Um, and there are some twists and turns, and they do refer back to something that happens in the case of the Liberty
Mhm.
Bell, because you
Mhm.
have to acknowledge it sometimes.
Yeah.
But, I try to make the plot is very different. The plot has a different, it has a whole different backdrop to it than
Yeah.
the plot of that episode.
Yeah, and you centering around, well, not centering, but like featuring Blanche so prominently in this book. As someone who, as I've gotten older, you would think I'd become more like Sophia, but let's be real. I know I'm Blanche
Mm.
1000% in so many situations in my life. It's just who I am. So a story centered in and around Blanche is amazing, and a story centered around sort of being trapped in like a mansion, a gorgeous mansion. It just feels very Blanche. But what was the decision process like of choosing who was going to be the anchor of this story?
I really wanted to do a Blanche story, and I feel like she has so many old boyfriends that certainly there's gotta be some mysteries there, there's gotta be something dramatic and interesting with her old
Mhm.
boyfriends, and I was really inspired by there is an episode where Blanche mentions all these things she's done in her youth, and one of them was she ran away to New York. She hitchhiked to New York to become a Rockette, and that little moment really inspired me because I thought, Blanche is the Southern belle. She's used to, being catered to and living in her big house. And what would it have been like for her to hitchhike to New York? And where
Yeah.
would she have lived? And who would she have met? And if she did meet, a special someone there who resurfaced decades later, who would he have been?
Yeah.
And I wanted him to be really interesting too. So Blanche has a job at the museum that we hear about in the show a little bit. It's not
Mhm.
super specific what her job is.
Yeah.
but I knew she had, some interest in art and museums. And I thought, well, what if she met this, passionate painter when she was a young woman in New York trying to make it in showbiz and be a rockette? And so that inspired a lot of the backstory. I wanted her old flame to be an artist because I wanted him to be super interesting and I wanted to fill the house with art. I was very inspired by some places I went to in and around Miami and Palm Beach. Um, and so it kind of grew from there. And I had to
Yeah.
think about, well, what would be the mystery and what would be some clues and mini mysteries within it? And also, what would keep it interesting for the girls and not just Blanche, but what would involve all of them
Mhm.
in trying to solve a mystery?
Well, okay, so I'm gonna speak to the listeners real quick. Anyone watching or listening, I wanna say something that excites me so much. This is the nerd coming out of me, but what I love about, and yes, I'm a writer, but like I love, and you and I have spoken privately about this, but I have such a admiration and passion for people who can write fiction because it seems I can stand on stage and tell jokes. I can write about someone. I can write about a movie for days. I can do all of that, but like writing fiction to me is one of the most heroic, amazing, beautiful talents that I think anyone can do, and I don't know how they do it, and it amazes me every single time, and the fact that you're able to take a little nugget from the show, a little nugget, something that could be an aside, something that could be a nothing burger for anybody else, and turn it into a backstory with a rich catalog of characters and it can go in places that everyone listening is the most exciting thing about talking with authors is that you don't know where that source of inspiration is gonna come from, and I am just so envious of someone like you that I hope someday something I can have that and do something with that because it is just so exciting that, like, a love of the Golden Girls and a moment of Blanche having a bunch of boyfriends can inspire a whole amazing story that will likely become a New York Times bestselling book. Like, that is so exciting.
Well, thank you. Thank you. It's fun. It's fun to imagine the possibilities. It's fun to think about what Blanche got up to in her youth. I didn't spend too much time, in flashbacks. The story takes place,
Mm,
in the 80s, in this mansion, but I wanted little hints and it was a lot of fun. And also, bringing in a few Big Daddy stories
yeah,
and a few Big Daddy memories was really important to me too, because that's such a fun part of the show with
yeah.
Blanche and all of her Big Daddy stories.
Well, beyond the fan reception that from the now that you've heard from the fans from the first book, what was there anything else different about the writing process of this one in particular?
I felt slightly like I knew what I was doing,
Yeah.
in terms of, I felt like, okay, I can capture the girls' voices.
Mhm.
Um, it was a different experience because for the second book, I was pregnant through a lot of the
Yeah.
writing and had a little baby through some of the writing and revising. So that was just
And promoting.
and promoting. So
Yeah.
that was a whole different ball game. Um, but honestly, it was similar because I'm trying to put the girls in situations where they can solve a mystery, but also it's really fun for the reader. So there's opportunities for jokes and there's opportunities for bickering. But in this one, they're interacting with a few more side characters. And I wanted them all to feel like they could have been walk ons from the show and have that 80s and 90s kind of feel to the characters.
Mhm.
And then I did, because of the setting, it was really important to me to have a few scenes in the girls' house because
Mhm.
I just love the house.
Yeah.
I love the coral rattan couch. I love
Yeah.
the kitchen. It's so cozy. I have a brief scene in Blanche's bedroom, but a lot of it is on this island in Biscayne Bay on this beautiful crumbling mansion with gorgeous lush gardens. And so I was really doing a lot of figuring out where are the girls in this mansion and what does it look like and can you get from here to there,
Yeah.
which it was different from the first one, which is more set in Miami, mostly in a hotel,
Yeah.
and the Rusty Anchor makes an appearance and things like that. Um, and this one was different because I was getting more into the Blanche mindset. In
Yeah.
the first one, I was very much in the Rose mindset, which I love Rose, and
Yeah.
so to get to do some of the absurd Saint Olaf stuff was really fun. And in this one, I had to, get into my silk robe.
Yeah. So how much of Blanche came out in I mean, because like I find sometimes when I'm working on something or if I'm like workshopping a joke, I'll be saying it 7 different ways in 7 different conversations or something. Like it becomes a part of my identity. So did Blanche become a part of your identity?
I mean, she's definitely more a part of me now after writing this
Mm.
book. I felt like I had to get in touch with that very confident, coquettish,
Yeah.
flirtatious side. So yes, sometimes I did put on a silk robe with a botanical print to help me get there. Um, and I really thought about Blanche because I like her a lot, but I always identified a little more with Rose and a little bit more with Dorothy. But Blanche is the way she is for a reason. I
Yeah.
mean, she was raised to use her feminine wiles and to
Mhm.
prioritize her appearance, and she does that very well. And
Yeah.
so, um and she has a lot of, she has the ability to captivate people.
Yeah.
And so it was really fun to step into that mindset and think, well, why is she like this
Mhm.
sometimes? And also she has so many ex-boyfriends, and some of them, in the show, some are doing better than others, but
Yeah.
it would be an intense experience for her to go to this island and be confronted.
Yeah.
Um, with someone from the past she had forgotten about. So I definitely feel like she's not just a flirty babe. Like
No.
she's got lots going on.
Yeah.
And she's making some calculations, behind those lashes as she backs
Mhm.
them.
Mhm.
Um, and she got to do a lot of that in the book, which was super fun.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so I definitely feel like I'm more in touch with my Blanche side.
I love
My
that.
wardrobe is all jewel tones now. Uh, like, almost everything is teal now. Uh, and I love how in real life, Rue McClanahan, she got to keep the
Yes.
outfit from the
Yes.
show,
Yes.
which is
So
so amazing.
so
Uh,
amazing.
so definitely. And I think that Blanche has, sometimes she can be seen as a little bit self-centered, but really she loves her girlfriend so much.
Yeah.
And that always comes through. So there might be a few moments where she's looking out for herself, but she's really looking out for all of them.
Yeah.
Um, so it was fun to write those moments of tension and then those moments of, you know, deep friendship between the girls.
Bring up Rue McClanahan, and that's something that I think, from a fan perspective, is so interesting about a book like this because I liken it to the same way people read the Murder She Wrote books
Mhm.
that are still out. That like yes, we have a relationship with the character of Blanche or of Dorothy or of Rose or Sophia or Jessica Fletcher, but the actor behind them is so much a part of the
Yeah.
persona of the character that we love that it's almost hard to. And I sometimes, as someone who like talks to actors for a living, I'm very conscious. I just was just having a conversation with someone from The Comeback, and I kept screwing up Lisa and Valerie because like they're so interchangeable sometimes that like it's hard to separate. And it's the same with these women that like sometimes if I'm reading about Blanche, I see Rue McClanahan in my head. So like how much of the actors behind these personas of these characters impact how you see them?
I think it does affect me a lot. I'm thinking about the performances all the time. The performances are so full and rich and funny and hearty. And with Rue McClanahan, she just embodies Blanche so well. And I read, now I'm blanking, and it's only because we're recording and I'm nervous. But the Golden Girls, the behind the scenes look,
Oh,
Golden Girls,
yes, yes, yes,
um,
yes. Jim Colucci's book.
Jim Colucci's book, which is
Yes.
excellent, and I refer to it all the time, and it's
Yeah.
so good. I believe it was there that I read that Blanche, that Rue, once she had Blanche's walk down,
Yeah.
she felt like she really got the character. So I thought about how she walked a lot, and the shoes she would wear, and the clacking in her slingback
Yeah.
heels, and they were often slingbacks, not just pumps, because that's a little sexier, and that
Yeah.
makes a little bit of more of a noise, and that's maybe a little more, cooler weather when you're from the South or you're living in Miami. So I think for me, they are intertwined with the show.
Yeah.
The actors who played them, it is, I can't imagine anyone else playing those characters. So when I'm writing, I'm definitely trying to embody what taken in from the screen. And I can't help but,
Yeah.
you know, absorb what I know about them in real life too, a little bit.
For sure. Well, but also too, I mean, the other thing that I was thinking about, like, sure, you watch the episodes and that's research, which is like really fun research. But like,
Yeah,
what other research
yeah.
did you have to do outside of just knowing the show so well and watching episodes?
I mean, obviously I watch the show a lot and I read books like Jim Colucci's and have dog-eared pages.
Yeah.
For this one in particular, I did some research about the setting. I wanted this mansion. It was inspired a little bit by a couple of real life places in Miami and Palm Beach. There is the Ann Norton Sculpture Garden.
Mhm.
He was an artist, and she has this beautiful home and beautiful garden. So that inspired me a lot. There is a place called Biscayne, which is a gorgeous mansion full of art and antiques, and that inspired me a lot. And I would stuff. They have a really great website where you can do 3D tours of the room,
Mm.
see all the objects. So that, the Flagler Museum, I didn't want the mansion to be owned just by a wealthy industrialist. I wanted it to be someone interesting, like an artist, because that played into the plot. So I took pieces of these. I had to research some of the flora and fauna,
Oh.
um, because there are a couple of let's say animal visitors. And I wanted to make sure that was accurate and plausible. I wanted to describe the gardens really well and some of the art stuff too. There is a scene, I won't say too much, but my favorite scene has to do with an art gallery
Okay.
and
Mhm.
Blanche. And I refreshed my memory of some of the great works of art for that scene, which is my favorite one in the book.
Oh, so great. So great. Well, so like when you're doing a story like this where so much of it takes place in one place, it's sort of like a locked room mystery, if you will. Like it all is taking place in this one space. Do you is it is it limiting or is it more creative to sort of tell a story from that perspective? Because like I mean, I think of it like to me, the one of the things that makes the Golden Girls so great is most of the action always takes place either in the living room, the lanai, or the kitchen, and then you're forced to be creative within the spaces of these 3 rooms, and I think the same thing within your book, where you're forced to be creative within the space of one space in a lot of ways. But how hard is it to sort of think of idea? Because if you can't leave the room, what can you do?
Exactly.
Yeah,
Well, I did it to myself because I did choose that, but I did feel like it was in the tradition of the show because the show is mostly set in their house. Now,
yeah.
sometimes they go to the Rusty Anchor or they go out to
Mhm.
lunch or the groceries, they go different places, but most of it is in the home. So I felt okay with keeping it in a contained setting.
Yeah,
But I still wanted a few scenes on Richmond Street just because I love it and I think the fans of the show also love seeing scenes there. Um, but I did work hard to make sure that there was enough variety. So they were in different rooms and outside sometimes and inside. So I wanted it to feel like there were enough interesting places for them to be within the house
mm,
and still feel like, oh, we could be trapped here with a murderer without letting it get boring or
yeah.
feel claustrophobic. So, um, I just tried to make the most interesting rooms possible with
Mm,
interesting stuff in that and keep them moving related to the plot. So I really liked it. And I really liked also describing the gardens because if you are going to get trapped on a beautiful island in a beautiful mansion, Let's have gorgeous gardens. Let's have some delicious food. Let's have some nice furniture. You
Mhm.
know, that was fun.
Yes. Well, so if you okay, so like I have no doubt that Death on the Lanai will be a massive hit, just like the first one was. I mean,
Let's let's hope. Fingers crossed.
if I have anything to do with it, I'm gonna be shouting about it. But it is fantastic, and you should be so proud of yourself. But like, let's say I hope you have more books in you that are Golden Girls themed related, and like, I just wanted to take this moment to offer some suggestions over where we
Yes.
could where we could go
Yes.
with some
Yes.
characters that I'm hoping come out at some point. So like, I would love in some capacity for the Cheese Man to be I feel like the Cheese Man needs to be in something. I don't know. Perhaps Rocco, Mickey Rooney,
Mm.
could be. I don't know where that would go, but more often than not, I would love a situation where it turns out it's a mystery. Sure, there's like a murder mystery situation that involves Dorothy in a realized, fully thought out love affair with Al, the cop from the George Clooney episode. And then you could have a subplot. Now, my co-host Carrie of Out on the Lanai, we had
Mhm.
a fight for the past 10 years of the podcast, saying that I was saying Blanche was not hitting on George Clooney,
Mm.
and yet she firmly believes that Blanche was hitting on George Clooney. So I think you could probably play with that a little bit, whether there's some love. I don't know. Where do you fall on that, by the way? What do
Um,
you think was
you
happening
know,
there?
I'd have to rewatch it. But I feel like it's just in Blanche's nature. Even if she didn't consciously think she was, she might have been.
Sure. Or we just read into it and maybe we're all just slut shaming Blanche.
Right? Yes. I mean, let her live. But I have always liked the idea of Dorothy having her own full-fledged romantic adventures.
Ah,
Absolutely. I'm taking notes. I love all these ideas. I mean, the cheese and I mean, it's interesting in a cozy mystery, how many cops do you want to bring in? How
yeah.
much mafia do you want to bring in or the
Yeah.
crime scene? Um, but that creeps into the show as well. And Rose loves Miami Vice and there's all kinds of
Yeah. She also
wild
loves
stuff.
La Law.
Yeah. Voila.
So you could do a legal drama.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there are so many you could watch a show, any of
Yeah.
the episodes. There are so many things you think, "Oh my gosh, that's such a jumping off point." I think about well, right now in my mind, I'm so stuck on Blanche. There's an episode where Blanche is trying to write a book. I don't
Yeah.
know if you remember
Yes.
that one.
Oh, yes.
Kind of
Little Balls of Sunshine. Yes, I remember it. Thank you. It was the Chronic Fatigue two-parter.
Oh, right. Oh,
Yeah.
it was in with
Well, I
that.
know. Maybe I'm
Sure.
combining because there's another one where she thinks she can be a great romance novelist, and another one she's writing a children's story with
Yeah.
Rose. But
That one's a different one.
yes, yes, oh,
Yeah.
yes, yeah,
Well, she gets delirious anyway from
yes,
writing, and I feel like I really identified with Blanche in that moment, but there are so many, funny things where you could just go off and
yeah.
come
I
up
mean,
with a whole scenario.
you could mix genres here and have sort of like a sequel to the Harrison Ford Amish film Witness, but have it star Miles when he's.
When he goes off to the witness
How stupid would that be?
there are no bad ideas. This is all good.
No, there are some bad ideas. This is why you're a New York Times bestselling author and I'm a comedian. There's a reason we do what we do.
Well, I need to find ideas that can help sustain a whole book. A whole book takes longer to read and write a whole book than it is to, watch an episode.
Yes.
But I love bringing in these other characters that we love. That's why Stan has like a brief cameo in Death on the Lanai
Mhm.
because he wasn't really in Murder by Cheesecake, and people kept asking me, "Where's Stan? When's Stan going to show up?"
And you know what? I'm one of those stands, if you will, because I fully consider Stan to be the fifth Golden Girl. I've always thought that.
Really?
Yes, I think Stan is more important of an emotional core of the show than people give him credit for because oftentimes we write him off because he was a schmuck and he cheated on Dorothy and all of the things, but I like that the show gave him an arc that allowed validation for people who screw up in their lives, but are able to sort of rebuild the relationships that they've torn apart over the years. And then in the end, of course, we know where it happened, where they were able to come to a really beautiful place. And I love that because you and I have talked about this. I love complicated characters. I love characters that aren't necessarily immediately likable or aren't necessarily, easily won over by a reader. I like an Olive Kitteridge. I like a character that like is hard to love, and Stan is kind of like that for me in a lot of ways.
Well, he's very hard to love in most of the seasons. I love that he has an arc.
Yeah.
I love that there is some redemption there. And I love where he and Dorothy end up in terms of their mutual respect for each other.
Yeah.
But I mean, yeah, I mean, you're probably more of a Stan than me. Um, you know, but I hear what you're saying and I don't disagree with you.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, saying he's the fifth golden girl, whoa, I'm gonna have to sleep on that. I'm gonna have to sleep on that. But, there's these side characters that come in that are so important,
Uh-huh.
that are so funny or so unique, as along with the actors who played them are iconic as well.
Mhm.
So, I have fun bringing in some of them and then also coming up with new characters, but that would fit. That would be the kind of person that they would, run into at something like this. Because I wanted this to feel like uh, Death on the Lanai, to feel like you were invited too to this fancy party,
Yeah.
and you're invited to this, mysterious estate. But there's surprises in store and there's twists and turns, and the girls are also a teeny bit better now at solving mysteries.
Mhm.
They solved their first one, so they know a little bit more what they're doing, but they're still amateur sleuths.
Yeah.
They're not coming in with the fingerprinting kit or anything like that. They have
Mhm.
to figure it out, um, and keep each other safe and keep an eye out for each other while they're doing it. But then there's lots of funny moments. They all end up having to sleep in one big bed together. And I just love when that happens
Me
on the
too. Me too. And that's what's so great about these books that I mean, now that I've read both, that like that's what's so great about what you do is that you're able to take these moments that we know and love from the show and reappropriate them in really interesting, wonderful ways within the nature of your story, within sort of the confines of your story that you're telling. And it's just for anyone. And I just, I want people. You can go to the show notes of this episode to order the book and of course to follow you and everything. But like, it is just such a fun summer nostalgic, cozy read that is just like a wonderful little hug that will just make you in a moment of our world feeling like it's always on fire. This is a wonderful distraction for taking a break. Don't always take a break from the news. Be informed, but at the same time, take a break and have a little fun with a book like about these four women that we know and love so well. I really do think that.
Well, thank you so much. It's available wherever books are sold, so get it from your favorite spot. And I'm so happy to hear you say that because I want it to be comforting. I want it to feel like you're, in the show with the girls, but it's a few new adventures for them.
Yeah, yeah. Well, so then where can people follow you and, see more about maybe your book signings or like anything you're doing in person? Because people need, I mean, I've never met you in person, which is crazy, but I've annoyed you a lot with being like, what do you think I should do with this? Should I write this? And you're so nice to respond to me with that. So you're just, I want people to meet you and support you.
Well, thank you so much. I definitely want to coordinate and meet up with you at some point very soon. So, my website is rachelextremcourage.com. It's my name. And I am going on tour for this book. So, there will be lots of opportunities to meet up in person. You'll see tour stuff there. Also on my Instagram, Rachel Ekstrom Courage on Instagram. I have a newsletter on Substack called Joyful Chaos, where I'm
Oh,
mostly talking about the Golden Girls and books and publishing and all of that. So you can follow me there. And I'm excited to meet more readers out on the road because it's so fun to hear who people identify with or how they got into the show. People watch it with their grandmas or their parent, or it was their solo comfort show.
yeah.
It was their found family for them when maybe they didn't have that. And it's just so great to bond with, other people who love the show so much. So I will be going on tour. Check out my website. Please follow me. I'll be sharing updates really soon on all of that.
For sure. And let me tell you, everyone listening or watching, that I was recently at the Murder She Wrote festival that happened in California here, Northern California. And one of the things, Mendocino, and one of the things that I noticed about it is it was just fans of this one thing hardcore fans coming together to sort of love the thing that we love together. And so going to either one of your book signings or events or wherever you're having anything, I highly encourage you to go do that in person, because you'll meet not only you, and you're wonderful and incredible and people should buy this book, but also you'll meet other fans and probably create friendships that are like the people listening that I just love and cherish so much. And so it's just such a wonderful experience. So people should go meet you in person.
Thank you so much. And I would love to go to that Murder She Wrote festival. That was
Oh,
so amazing to see the photos of everyone in their jogging suits.
I can't even tell you. It was such an experience, Rachel. Oh my God. Oh my.
Amazing. So I hope these Golden Girls events, some people may dress up like their favorite Golden Girl. We will definitely have cheesecake at some of the events. And then also, this book has a recipe in the back for off key lime pie, which my mom developed with my help. I tasted, she developed, and it ties into the plot with Blanche. So
I love it. I love it so much. Thank you so much, Rachel. I really appreciate you chatting with me.
thank you so much.
Okay, my golden takeaway for this episode is buy this book. No, obviously, yes, go buy this book. That's the takeaway from this entire episode. But my for real golden takeaway is one of the things that I love about doing this podcast is we're able to platform people who are doing great things within the Golden Girls space. Carrie and I know I can speak for Carrie on this, we both firmly believe that this is a community and we are just fans, and her and I are just doing a service to the fans. But we're all the same. We're all in the same boat, and we're all just fans of this show that we love so, so, so much. And so I love being able to do this podcast because of all of you, and you've been with us for so long, so many of you, and some of you are new, and we love you too. And so it's just so nice to have this wonderful little community. But I'm really grateful that I'm able to platform people like Rachel and about her great work that she does, and other people too, other podcasts and other live shows and just things going on. It makes one of the things that I love to do just naturally is talk to people. And so being able to talk to people about a show that we all love so, so, so much, and then see them do really creative, artistic things with that love, like Rachel is doing with Death on the Lanai, it makes me really happy. And it makes me happy to be a creative person in this space and being a part of the Golden Girls community. So thank you, because we would not be able to do any of this without all of you listening. So thank you so much. We are part of Mom Moguls of Media. You can go to Support Mom Plus. Do it, because I love Mom. Yeah, you should be supporting Mom Plus. I do. It's fun. You can also support us on social media at Golden Girls Pod on Twitter, Out on the Lanai Official on Instagram, Golden Girls Pod on Facebook, and I am HAlanScott / Sadie Pines on everything. You can also please leave a little rating and review wherever you're listening or watching this. It really does help us out a lot. In the meantime, as always, remember, stay golden and go pick up Death on the Lanai. It's so good. I can't even say anymore. It's so good. Bing, bing, bing. That was really pathetic. Pew, pew, pew. Pew, pew, pew. There, I did it.
Out on the Lanai is not endorsed by Whit Thomas Harris Productions, Touchstone Television, Disney, or any of its subsidiaries. It is intended for entertainment and informational purposes only.
All names, pictures, audio, and video clips of the Golden Girls are registered trademarks and/or copyrights of their respective trademark and/or copyright holders.